Hi and welcome to today's video. Today I'm filming a review of this pen, which is a Pen BBS 494, which is probably the most affordable Pen BBS pen on the market. Available like Etsy and eBay and places like that, as well as I think AliExpress and a few other sort of online retailers that sell these sorts of pens. It doesn't come in a particularly fancy box. As I said, this is the most affordable Pen BBS pen, costing around the $7 to $10 Australian dollar mark, including postage. So it is very, very affordable. Just a clear plastic cover, a little cardboard tray, and there is the pen. So what makes this pen particularly interesting is the fact that for $7 to $10 you're getting a piston filler from Pen BBS. It's modelled off, I think, the Pilot 78G, as a lot of other pens are. There's pens from Wing Sung, I think the 3011, for instance, I think, off the top of my head, is a similar sort of pen, but what sets the Pen BBS one apart is the fact that it has put a piston filler in this model. It's a smaller pen, like in terms of the size in the hand. It is a smaller pen. It feels like a 78G, like it's got that sort of narrow sort of size. But yeah, anyway. I'll do a review of this. I'll talk about the features and all that stuff, do a writing sample, and then give you some pros and cons. So, starting at the top of the pen, it's got sort of like this slightly rounded, almost sort of flat top, which is very reminiscent of the 78G. That is on a little screw system in there, which holds the clip on this ring in place. Very clear cap, which swells out slightly to the center band where we see the threads through, and then the pen itself is cylindrical down to the end where we get a little metal ring, and then the piston knob. I will say straight up, the piston in this pen is okay. It doesn't feel like the smoothest piston you're ever going to use, but it obviously, you see the feel here, it does a pretty decent job. So the pen unscrews in 1, 2 and a bit turns, and reveals smooth threads, a little O-ring there, which is where the cap secures down onto, because there is no cap liner, so that provides the seal, and it does a good job. It's a very secure cap, and yeah, happy with that. The section tapers down. It's got this little sort of indents in the section. They won't necessarily come up on camera, but they're little dips which give your fingers somewhere to sit. Little flare out slightly towards the end there, and then we get this small nib, which is modelled off a Pilot nib, as is the plastic feed there, same sort of shape as you'd see on, say, a Metropolitan or something like that, and it's marked fine and Marshmallow Shanghai. So it's a simple pen, but an effective pen, and for this price I think it's actually a pretty good option. So in terms of the nib, it is just a plain steel nib. As I said, it is relatively small. I have seen this in listed on different websites as fine or extra fine, and I have also seen, but I haven't been able to find one to buy, a Fude style nib, so a little turned up nib on the end there, and it's an effective nib. It writes, it's pretty reliable, it's definitely not the wettest nib I've seen. Now the material is basically plastic. It's injection molded plastic, and there's like a little dip there where it's been injection molded on the top and on the end there. So you see the signs of that, but the polish or the finish of it is really, really great. You can see just how crystal clear that material is, and the same goes for the body here. Of course, it's at the moment filled with ink. As I said, it is a slim pen. Like if I hold it up here alongside Faber-Castell Emotion, you just see how slim that pen is. But it is modelled off something like, as I said, the Pilot 78G. I've only seen it in this clear demo material. I think that's all it's available in, and that's absolutely fine. It looks really nice. I like the demonstrator concept. I have a lot of TWSBI pens and things because I do like that in a pen. Let's do the typical size comparison now, just to see it in comparison here to the Lamy Safari. So in terms of length, it's actually pretty good. It's actually 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters longer than a Lamy Safari. If we see them uncapped, they're once again sort of a similar-ish length, the Lamy being just a little bit longer. And posted, this pen does post, and quite nicely, and actually I think it's a good pen to write with posted. The Lamy Safari does get long, but the Lamy Safari, when it is posted, is actually kind of a fairly long pen anyway. So it's, yeah, but you can see from the size, it's not a small pen, it's just very slim. Like looking at those two sections, you see just how, you know, slim the Pen BBS 494 is. So now let's talk about the dimensions of this pen. Capped, it is 142 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 127, which is a perfectly fine length for writing. The threads and everything are smooth, so if you want to hold it further back, you can. It's still going to be long enough. It does give you a bit more sort of grip as well, like, and a bit more girth, but it's a fine size to use. The section is 8 to 9 millimeters, so it is slim, and posted, the pen is about 158, so it's a very good length, and because the balance of the pen is pretty good, you can post it and write very, very comfortably. The weight of the pen is 15 grams, and that is 11 in the body of the pen and 4 in the cap, so just, yeah, pretty solid. So let's do a writing sample now. I have it here with Clairefontaine 90-gram paper. This is the pen BBS 494. It is a steel fine nib, and the ink I'm using here today is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki, which is a really lovely ink. It's like, it's a nice sort of standard, not super wet, not super dry, sort of lubricated, gives a good sense of how the pen writes. Let's see how this pen writes. So it's fairly smooth. There's a tiny bit hint of feedback, but really, like, it's pretty good. There's nothing that gets in the way, and it's definitely not scratchy. In terms of wetness, like, it's a little on ice. I call this as a little on the drier side, but really the flow is fine. You know, as in terms of actually having a pen that writes reliably and consistently, this is actually pretty good. Reverse writing is okay, dries out a little bit, but as you would expect, but very fine line there. Flex, you know, it's not a flex nib, it just puts down a bit more ink, like a lot of other pens do. So, like, it writes well, like, with no pressure, you're putting down on the page, with, you know, like, general sort of standard writing, it's a nice flow, it's a nice sort of, you know, reliable nib. So now let's talk some pros and cons. So the Pen BBS 494, as I said, is a $7 to $10 Australian pen, including postage. So we are talking about a very budget-friendly, affordable pen here. So in terms of cons, you have to put that into context. Like, the real only con I have is that it's a little dry. And you could probably do some stuff to sort of make it a bit wetter. But the pros far outweigh the cons on this pen. It's got a decent ink capacity. Being a piston filler, you get a good amount of ink. You know, like, I've been writing with this pen for a couple of weeks on and off, and I've barely touched the surface. Because it's not a super wet pen, it doesn't use a lot of ink, which is also a plus because you can just write and write and write. I really like how well the acrylic is finished. That transparency there is really lovely. I think it's got good proportions and a good aesthetic. Like, it looks nice, and the size of that nib there, even though it's a small nib, looks like it's like in proportion with the pen. And so I'm a big fan, you know, of like just the look and the design of this pen for a slim, you know, sort of fountain pen here. The price is a massive pro. Like, it is really super affordable, and you're getting a pretty decent pen for it. And, you know, like, the addition of the piston filler on this sort of pen shape and, you know, the model, if you will, of the, once again, the 78G from Pilot, I think is a nice addition. So, as I said, the pros far outweigh the cons on a pen like this. You're not going to be getting a TWSBI 580 or, going up in the market, a Pelican or anything like that for this price. You are getting a Pen BBS pen with a decent, reliable nib in it. I have not tried to swap out the nibs, whether you could put a Pilot nib in there. Like, it is around the same sort of size, and there are Wingsung pens that you can put a Pilot nib in. The fact that the feed is so reminiscent of a Pilot feed suggests that maybe you could. If you've done that, I would love to hear from you in the comments as to if that's possible. But, it's a super reliable pen, and at this price, like, I don't think there's really much to complain about. In fact, I prefer this over a number of my other Pen BBS pens, to be honest, and the way it writes I much prefer. So this was the Pen BBS 494. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can contact me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can drop me an email, which is also listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel, please get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.